After now hearing more about the Omlox Hub, I would like to switch to the Omlox Core Zone and introduce Jean-Marie André, CEO of Beespoon and also the working group leader of the Omlox Core Zone.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be with you today.
Good morning. You are an expert in ultra-wideband, and we have already heard a little bit about it, but could you explain us how an ultra-wideband localization system works?
Well, in any kind of ultra-wideband localization system, you have fixed points. We call them satellites. Usually they are hanging at the ceiling. And these are transmitting and receiving special radio signals. We call them ultra-wideband. And they can measure the time of flight from a small piece like this one. But there are many others, many other form factors, depending on what you want to do. And the satellites. And by measuring the time of the flights, you can precisely locate them, even in heavily metallic environments. So it's a very robust, very reliable solution, the technology overall. And there are many ultra-wideband systems that are deployed in the industry. What we were lacking so far was something that would unify all these deployments and make it a no-brainer for anybody who's considering deploying indoor localization to adopt a solution that is future-proof, because you are actually getting into an ecosystem. So the biggest challenge for us was to define something with in mind the idea that we can address a lot of different use cases, which can be quite a challenge. In some occasions, you have to track tens of thousands of tags that are moving extremely slowly. In other places, we are required to track things that are going extremely fast. And on top of that, all the configurations can vary a lot. So we designed all that in Omlox, and we designed it in a way where the same system can address all these different use cases. And we've brought quite some innovation into that. It has been a long work. Among others, we have the capability to not only track these little things that are transmitting radio signals, but we are also enabling receivers, like GPS receivers, exactly the same concept, to pick the signal from the satellite and compute themselves their own position, which is a very interesting feature because it means you can have as many receivers as possible. They only receive, they don't interfere with each other, which from a radio standpoint is a breakthrough. And it's also something that allows to have very low latency position computation. So addresses a very wide variety of use cases.
That works like my smartphone when I use GPS. So my smartphone calculates the own position.
Exactly the same.
Exactly
It
like
picks the signal from the satellites around, does a triangulation and tells you that's where you are in a very reliable way. So your smartphone may be 1 meter precise, depending on how many satellites you see. When we're indoor, we are at a 10 centimeter kind of accuracy. So you can imagine all the use cases this enables.
And with this GPS-like positioning mode, we can have many of those, so unlimited number.
Unlimited number of receivers. They can be all sitting in the same place. They will pick the same signal. They will compute their own position. And based on this, you can think of so many different use cases. It's incredible. Things that we didn't even think of, like social distanciation or these kind of things. I think we will discuss that later on.
Okay, and for the Omlox Core Zone, there's another special thing. We have one infrastructure, and then we have elements from different vendors which we can mix and match.
Exactly. The whole thing about building an ecosystem is making sure that you enable fair competition and that people who are considering to invest into an indoor location system, they can see that they are not locked with one vendor, but they have a vast variety of solution suppliers who will be able to provide software layers, hardwares, all sorts of things. And fueling this ecosystem is the mission of Omlox, and that's what this industry was desperately missing so far.
Okay, that sounds like a great thing you're building up here also for ultra-wideband with Omlox, and we are excited how it will grow in the future.